Absolutely. Duda in second place in the tournament, and here we go.
Yeah, it's a queen's pawn opening. Duda usually opening with his king's pawn, so maybe a small surprise there for Gukesh. But we are heading into maybe one of the main positions here with a queen's gambit declined and the Catalan. So Duda going for this really trendy, topical approach. Everyone seems to be playing the Catalan nowadays. It's kind of a mix between strategy and dynamism in these types of openings. How will Gukesh react? Black has a bunch of solid ways, also a bunch of ambitious ways to meet the Catalan, but I'm sure he's seen this before. I'm sure he's got a line or two up his sleeve. He just needs to choose which one. Duda with a small surprise. I don't know, have you guys seen him play the Catalan before? I certainly can't remember.
Can't recall.
And, OK, a check is met by the bishop blocking. Black's main move here is to retreat the black dark-squared bishop. There's a couple of squares you can choose, but there we go. It retreats back to its main square. And after both kings castle, I'm assuming Duda's going to do the same. We do get this kind of standoff where still all pieces on the board. White wants to, at some point, occupy the centre. White needs to bring the rest of his pieces into the game, but black is rock solid. And it's hard to break down black's structure. The triangle formation in the middle of the board, as we call it, with black, that pawn structure, just very hard to break. White's queen finding a slightly better square.
Reminds me of when I played a sport that is very big in Norway, but not many other countries, handball. And defending, we would always be told to have this triangle formation to defend. And is the triangle about defending or attacking in chess?
It's about defending to begin with, but it also has counter-attacking possibilities there because, I mean, black has a lot of flexibility with this little triangle formation because either of those backward pawns can move forward. So that's why it's flexible. And here we see Gukesh also seizing some space on the left side of the board, but the issue for him is all about the light squared bishop. I mean, he has to get it out. He has to give it a roll. Yeah, black's bishop, black's c8 bishop is just a terrible piece. It's a bit like a French defence, where that's the problem child. And this last move, this pawn push, I've seen Magnus play it several times. White here has a bunch of ways to react. Duda, at some point, he'll try and get his queenside knight out, that knight that's sitting at home doing nothing. Much experience on this side of the board?
Zero. Never had this position. I've seen it, of course, plenty of times. I've commentated on it a fair bunch of times. Never had it. Just not my cup of tea, I'm afraid, from either side. I would get squeezed with black and probably be a little bit too ambitious with white. So just, yeah, and this is fairly standard stuff. But allowing this a-pawn to run down the board, I don't recall that being...
It's theory.
Is it? Yeah?
Yeah.
OK.
Sorry.
Wait, no. I'm looking forward to hearing. So this has been played in a bunch of top games. Yeah, a bunch of top games. We have Vidit also trying this with the white pieces against Liam Le. We have another strong Russian grandmaster, Nikita Vichugov, against Demchenko. Fabiano Caruana played this with the black pieces against Wojciech, one of a Polish player who actually has played on the tour a few times. Yeah. So, yeah, definitely very well known.
Yeah, if Wojciech's played that position, maybe Duda's aware. Those two are very close, those two Polish players. And, OK, Duda, maybe with a bit less experience in this type of position than some of his kind of elite counterparts. Maybe he'll spend a bit of time here trying to be creative, trying to decide what to do with white. And eventually he does stop the further advance of that black a-pawn. Black was gaining a lot of space with his rook there, for his rook there. So that advance has been blocked. Strategically, long-term, this could be an ugly pawn move, just because there are some holes now on white's queenside. White will struggle to push the pawn next to this, the white b-pawn. It's just going to get captured, so he'll have to come up with other plans. I'm going to sneeze. Sorry, guys. I'll hold that one back. And meanwhile, Gukesh plays a bit of a waiting game, just takes control of some squares, gives the black king an escape square for later. It's very cagey, again, just both players just marking out the territory, controlling squares, yet to really initiate any direct confrontation.
But this pawn move is rare. I mean, I was taking a look at the database. It's much more common for black to jump forward with the knight. Playing this little pawn move, it seems to me perhaps slightly on the passive side. But then again, you know, black really hasn't done anything too wrong It's just a very solid position. And whilst they're playing, well, we can read a few tweets. And Tapes New Bain says that they finally turned 18 yesterday. So someone who generally had a birthday said, uploading my selfie today along with enjoying the Meltwater Champions Chess Tour Aimchess Rapid tournament and giving us some thanks for our commentary. So well,
happy birthday.
Happy belated birthday, Tapes New. And there we see the Queen develop to the edge of the board. And then Newton29 says that sends us greetings from the Black Forest. Says, I would be very happy if you would analyse the games. In a few weeks, I will play my first over-the-board tournament and it will help me a lot. So this is actually a common thing that we've seen a lot of people taking up the game because of the pandemic, playing it online, and they want to make that transition into over-the-board chess. And everyone's kind of wondering like, how to do this.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get a chance to offer some advice to as many players as possible.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, this position's still very tense. This last move very natural for black, just defending the A-pawn. Black's queen on a decent square. Would you be tempted to launch forward in the centre here, Lawrence? Just guess black is threatening to win a pawn from the C4 square.
Yes, I mean, it's definitely a move you have to consider, pawn to e4. I wonder if you can play other moves. Maybe knight d2 immediately is also... Is it ridiculous to play this move? I mean, you run into g5, maybe. Is it awkward?
Trying to track down this bishop.
Yeah, bishop e3, knight g4. Could be a little bit awkward. So, yeah, white has to be a bit precise here. Does the move bishop d2 make any sense? I guess it doesn't really, right?
Indirectly hitting the queen. I guess the queen has to move.
Yeah.
Yeah, this bishop's always a problem in these systems, right? Because, as you said, on this square it's a bit vulnerable to pawns, sometimes to knights. Okay, he doesn't want to hang around. This is very much in Duda's style, just to be direct, pushing a pawn forward. In the centre, white has this great trio now, but one of them is likely to be eliminated. I guess the most ambitious is for black to be greedy and take a pawn.
Yeah. And this actual position has occurred once before against two grandmasters, Vichigov and Demchenko, and black did not dare to grab the free pawn that's up for grabs. Instead, they captured the pawn in the middle and achieved a passive position and duly lost.
Yeah, this type of position, you mentioned the word passive, Jovanka. It's because white has a nice pawn centre, black has these two pawns which aren't really going to push forward anytime soon. Black also has this bishop that's entombed, stuck at home, no real life for that bishop in the near future. Instead, OK, Gukesh, he's very ambitious. He doesn't want to be passive, of course, so he does get greedy and grab a pawn. He's got something to suffer for, at least, something to hold on to. And Duda immediately reacts by threatening that pawn. Also possibly hinting at breaking open the centre. White's queen is on the same line as an undefended bishop, so if the centre opens up, that could be a factor. What would you guys do now? This pawn is under fire. We don't really want to lose it, right?
Defend it.
Defend it.
Hold on to that one with all our might. Yeah, either do... I think I would do it with a pawn.
With a pawn, I guess you could also do it with a queen.
Yeah.
Oops, defend it that way.
But the only thing I'd be worried about, and I would be scared about defending that the c4 pawn with another pawn, is...
OK.
Yeah, maybe the queen is better, but yeah, because I'm really afraid in these type of positions that it's very thematic for white to blast open the centre, and that could be problems.
Yeah.
99
Big
problems, right?
Pin against this bishop. Suddenly this bishop is coming to life and it's on the same diagonal as the black rook.
Actually, I'm kind of surprised we don't see Duda play more of these Catalans, because these kind of pawn sack positions are very much aligned with his style.
Yeah.
You know, he's a very, very good player with the initiative, and would like to see him play more of this, actually.
Yeah.
And Gukesh he's got a tricky spot now, because the next move is going to actually determine a lot of things in this game.
Yeah, if he can't hold on to his pawn, he's just worse as black, and not much to get excited about for Gukesh. I think you're right, Lawrence. It's right up his street. Duda He loves these imbalanced structures or imbalanced kind of material, material situations. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. He's been playing 1e4 for most of his career. He might as well branch out, right?
Yeah.
Variety's the spice of life with openings.
Yeah, I agree. But it takes so much courage to change from an old favourite.
Hey. I don't know.
Well,
in chess, you got to. I mean, if you don't experiment with everything, you end up with a very one-dimensional style or very predictable.
There's really only one player in the elite who has done that.
Okay. Who sticks with the same.
MVL.
Yeah, I
mean, MVL has had the same opening pretty much since he was in short pants, and you know, he's been playing the Grunfeld and the Najdorf literally since the first time I've ever met him. Yeah. Now he knows these openings inside out, but he's very predictable.
Yeah.
But he's a very rare exception because still he plays them, and still most players can't get something against these systems, but you have to know these openings. Literally been playing them for 20 years if you're gonna play like that. So having a broader repertoire at top level is absolutely essential. And all of these players, really, if you think about it, in this tournament, can play pretty much
I have a
anything.
For you both then.
Yeah.
At what level would you say it's okay just to have a very fixed opening level? Like what kind of rating would you say?
It's interesting because actually I get this question from a lot of my students. A lot of my students say, well, I've seen this course or this video on this opening, that looks interesting, I've seen this video on that. And I said, you know, you're not really in a position where you can just try and learn all of these different systems. Better just to try and master one. I would say when you start getting really advanced, that's when you can start branching out. And I'm talking about over 2200. I don't think you need to learn more than one system seriously if you're 1800. It's just what you could do. One of my students, shout out Joel if you're watching, he wanted to have a repertoire as black where he had a very safe repertoire, so he would have a solid repertoire, and then if he was playing somebody much weaker, he wanted something a bit more ambitious. So you could try and find two similar lines. For example, playing a Caro-Kann or something, one line which is very solid and then another which is a bit more ambitious, something like that. You know, but would you agree with that, David? Oh, do you really need to play E4 and D4 if you're 1900 rated?
No, I agree. 2200, 2300, sometimes even higher.
Yeah,
I think you can get away with just being very loyal to your openings as long as you're diligent and learn them as thoroughly as possible, practice there. But I think anyone who plays chess professionally, I mean, in my opinion at least, they should have, or they should be willing to experiment, or they should be trying to broaden their repertoire as much as possible, because I think nowadays it's just, there's no excuse. I mean, you can learn an opening in a day pretty much. If you played the same opening your whole life, you get hit in the same opening time and time again, your opponents prepare for you, you never ever get an advantage out the opening, and you're giving yourself a handicap.
How about if MVL started playing something different now?
Well, he does from time to time. He's not completely strict, but I mean...
With white, he varies a bit. With black, he's tried to experiment, but yeah, I don't know, just because he's had 20 plus 25 years of built-up knowledge in certain openings, he's lacking maybe in some other areas, and it takes a lot of kind of dedication at the top level to suddenly change later in life. I recommend trying a bit while you're younger, just to make sure you're happy with your openings. If you are, then those should be the main ones, even if you add stuff later.
And what's very important, just to, and we will get back to the game, not much has happened, so, is that you choose openings not to just learn move by move by move, but to be able to get to positions which you enjoy playing, that you feel comfortable in. That's something else that people don't do.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's very important to define your style early on. Are you aggressive? Are you tactical? Do you prefer slow games, manoeuvring games? Once you've established that, then you should really base your opening repertoire around that. That's where a lot of players go wrong. So, you know, a student could be super solid. He like, oh, I want to play the wing gambit, and it's like, well, hold on a second, mate. You like solid positions. Now you want to give up half your pieces. So make sure you have a clear idea of what kind of positions you like, and then if you have a coach, or advice, then base your opening repertoire around that style.
Yeah. I think that's where a coach comes in. It's not to tell you exactly what to do. It's just to kind of point you in the right direction. Just say, OK, this one I think would suit you. For example, if you are a solid player, then maybe some Slavs, some Berlins, or some martial attacks. But yeah, you definitely need to know yourself. That's key to being a good chess player.
And find an idol, maybe, then. Yeah. So if you are a very solid player, who should be your favorite player? Who should be the one you...
David Howe.
I would say boring, more than solid. But yeah, I mean, exactly. And not just find some model players, but model games as well in your favourite opening, whether it's the London system or the Wing Gambit. Or there's always players of a certain level who play that opening very well, who studied it, played it most of their life. You can basically use their knowledge, borrow ideas, and that's like a shortcut, again, to mastering these openings.
Definitely. And meanwhile, the White Knight has jumped into the centre and is attacking the pawn. And Gukesh, he's just centralised a rook. Still very tense position because White can actually just recapture the sacrificed pawn. And still the question remains, how is Black going to make use of this very poorly situated light-squared bishop?
Yeah. Very good question there, and maybe the key question in the position right now is, to me, at least, it's not Duda's style to take this pawn. You're right, Jovanka. I just had a feeling he was going to do something like this. You're right, this is a decent move. It's probably the move I would play just because it's my style. I don't want to be material down for too long unless I can help it. And after a couple of trades, White still has this beautiful pawn centre, but at the same time, Black has traded off a piece. Black could maybe offer to trade off the queens, and if the queens disappear, White's space advantage not so important. And that is not who Duda is. He wants to play ambitiously, aggressively. He pushes the H-pawn up the board, and what do we think? Is that just kind of prefacing a further push?
I think so, and it's not caveman-like anymore. You know, years ago this would just be seen as a coffee house player, the likes of myself, maybe the Ginger GM, if he doesn't mind me including him in that group. But you know, the computers have basically all confirmed that this is a good way of playing, and they absolutely love it. They love if you control the centre like this. You can expand on the flank. Look at Black's pieces, the knight on b6, the queen on a5, the rook on a8, all offside. So why can't I expand on the king side here? Now, I don't know if g4 in this exact position is the correct move. Maybe you have to prep it slightly. But it wouldn't surprise me if it's a legal move here. David, what do you think?
I think, again, it's Duda's style. I think he's going to play it. And the top players, they seem to make it work, right? If they can get away with pushing pawns. It's definitely the move he wants to play. For me, I would be asking, what else? Is there a backup plan? Is there another safe option? But I guess, again, you can take this pawn if you want to play super safe. Is it what Duda wants to do? Does he feel comfortable in those types of situations where a bunch of pieces might get exchanged? Does he want to just keep the tension, maybe improve his bishop? I'm not
exactly.
Sure. But, yeah, number one thing you calculate is pushing forward with this pawn. And
you can even be, you know, really sly and just play. You know, I'm thinking of that famous AlphaZero game where he went King H2. It's not the right position, but how ridiculous is a move like King H2 here? Just literally prepping Bishop A3, Bishop F3, Rook G1, G4.
Yeah,
and try and checkmate the guy.
Yeah, makes sense. And you're right, Lawrence. Like, just 10 years ago, even if you against me had played a move like G4 afterwards in the analysis, I would have been like, you're at it again. What are you doing, mate? Did you really think this would work? And nowadays, computers are like, yep, it's the best move. So that's how chess evolves. And I think he's going to play it. I just have a feeling, whether it's good or not. I guess Black here, because his knight is about to get hit, he would retreat and try to trade off pieces. Black really needs to do that while he's cramped, while he's struggling for space. And the question here would be whether White can continue. And there I go, saying he's going to go on the attack. And no, he wins his pawn back. Swapping off pieces, Duda.
Particularly surprised by this, I have to say.
Yeah,
I thought he was going to play the bishop move. I could see that one being part of the arsenal.
Yeah, the problem now is what do you do after, for example, the knights come off and the Black queen drops back? It's not really what I want to do as Black, but at least if I can get the queens off, I can say, yes, I'm struggling for space, but I'm solid.
Can I play Queen A2 there?
Yeah, you can keep the queens on.
Just be very annoying and say, my queen is actually not bad on a2.
Yeah, she supports and further advance later, maybe. Yeah, I would be inclined to do this as white. Maybe this is what Duda's planning as well. Black's still struggling. If black ever pushes this pawn, it allows white to step forward in the centre, gaining space. If black doesn't push this pawn, what is the plan, simply?
Isn't normally the plan to attack the dark squared bishop and retreat the knight again?
Yeah,
Just
kick it away.
Yeah, and then go, OK, fine, I'm happy with a draw.
Yeah.
Go back. I'm threatening to come in again.
Maybe Duda will just move his bishop and still go on the attack eventually. Yeah, really interesting decision. It's not what we expected, but here will Gukesh go for the queen exchange. 8 minutes against just under 8 minutes. Balanced on the clock. Any predictions so far, guys?
I mean, it's a tough one to predict results-wise. I think there's just, you know, all three results are very much in play here. Depends how optimistic Duda wants to be, if he's going to give Gukesh some chances. But, yeah, as I say, I didn't really like taking on c4 there. I felt like you kind of give away a bit of initiative there. And your move queen a6 I do like. But after queen a2, you still need a move there with black.
Still need a plan.
Yeah.
Just a good opening choice, I think, from Duda.
Yeah.
Gukesh will be a bit frustrated if he can't do anything right now.
Yeah, definitely. And whilst the players are thinking and we're like pondering what's white's best and what's black's best plan, we do have a question from Abdul Malik, who asks us, who was your first strong grandmaster that you defeated when you were young?
Oof.
So, Lawrence, over to you.
Oh, goodness. Strong grandmaster. Notable grandmaster that I beat.
It doesn't have to be a notable. Just say your first grandmaster.
Can't even remember.
Every grandmaster's notable.
Exactly.
I should remember the first grandmaster I beat. I think I was about 12 or 13. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. You go first and I'll think about it.
David for sure knows.
When I was 8, I don't know if this counts, it was a blitz game. It was an official tournament. I beat John Nunn, who at the time, I mean, he was a child prodigy himself and very strong grandmaster. I think he used to be top 20 in the world. When I was 10 in a classical over-the-board game, I beat Colin McNabb. And when I was 11, I beat, I think it was Kuzmin, quite a strong grandmaster from the former Soviet Union. But yeah, it was a long time ago.
World record. The 8, when you were 8, that was the world record, right?
Yeah, I think it's the youngest to beat a grandmaster in an official tournament.
It's great. Oh, it's so cool.
It was 5+3, the time limit. And actually, it's one of the best games I've ever played. I look back at it now, I'm like, why aren't I as good now? Like, it was just a really nice, smooth, kind of strategic game. And yeah.
Do you still have like? Do you still have then the note sheet from that game? Will you like save from the best games you play?
Yeah, I keep all my score sheets.
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't, but I'm a hoarder.
So how many do you have then? If you keep all of them?
It's in 4 figures, I think. The thousands, probably. Yeah. How about you guys?
Nope.
Oh, I don't hoard score sheets. I've lived with far too many partners to hoard such things. No. That's why we have databases, David, so that we don't have to carry around these sheets of paper.
The piece of paper, the signatures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got nice handwriting, though, so that makes a big difference.
Yeah. And meanwhile, it seems like Duda has lost his patience with the waiting game and has now initiated action in the centre.
Nice.
Yeah, the position is going to be blasted open.
Yeah, and interesting moment to choose because Duda can still gain some time against the White Queen. The White Queen isn't entirely safe where she stands. Let's jump in just to show what's happened. Here I was expecting, of course, that queen trade that we mentioned. Gukesh is more ambitious. He retreats his knight. And bang, the centre is about to open up because of these 2 threats. Black can't block up the centre, I was going to say, but he does. I was also maybe expecting the knight to come and challenge the queen first, but OK, he blocks and hits this bishop. The bishop's just happy to retreat. I'm very surprised at Gukesh's choice because now white has this very strong pawn in the centre. If you ever trade it off, either you could replace it with another pawn, a passed pawn, or you would take it with a knight, and your knight is on a beautiful outpost. So what is Gukesh's plan in the current position? Yeah, I don't think it looks attractive to take this pawn. What else? Can you maybe try this idea again? This would maybe be a pawn sacrifice here. If the knight attacks the white queen, I'm not sure white wants to go for this, but if white could, for example, take this knight and then take this pawn on the edge of the board. Going a pawn up, but at the cost of the bishop pair. So this is one sacrifice Gukesh could go for. I'm struggling to see what else, to be honest.
Very surprised at his move, actually. It just looks like it helped white. I don't know about you guys, but...
Yeah, I agree. It looks really nice for white. This is kind of what you're told is the dream in a Catalan opening.
Yeah, I agree. But then again, I think Gukesh must have been feeling quite desperate or very unhappy with his position to allow this. And instead he jumps forward.
Whoa!
And
I was just about to say...
You found something.
Well, I mean, I'm not checking a computer, but my first instinct here is this drops a piece to d6.
push the pawn, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
You're right. You have to be a bit clever here, but you push forward, blocking.
And the rook on c1, right?
Yeah, you sever the connection between the bishop and the knight. The bishop needs to protect the knight, and if, for example, bishop takes pawn, you remove the bishop, and here you emerge with 2 pieces for the black rook. And OK, black has another pawn, but 2 pieces are better than the rook. And like you said, Lawrence, maybe you talk us through this variation if rook takes.
Yeah, so if rook takes, the point is now you can just go bishop takes c5, and if rook takes d1, the key point is you've got knight takes d1, with the rook on c1 now providing extra protection, and that is a piece, and d6 might just end proceedings here.
Yeah, he'll fight on Gukesh for sure. OK, he takes with the bishop. But I was just going to say, backward knight moves, like in this situation, backward knight moves, that's what cost Magnus in his game against Gukesh. They're just so hard to spot. It's against human instinct to retreat a knight. And this would have won. OK, Gukesh went for the other variation. Bishop takes pawn, rook takes bishop. And at the end, OK, he takes with the queen. So it's, yeah, a sad material balance for black. 2 pieces are better than the rook and pawn right now.
Yeah, this is a miserable position for black. I mean, this is a nightmare for a grandmaster.
Yeah, you take the minor pieces over the rook here every time.
Yeah.
The queens are off as well, and Gukesh, he's in a bad endgame. The rook comes in, trying to get active, trying to hit this pawn on b2. I guess this will just be defended. There we go. And the rook will be evicted over the next few moves by the bishop coming back. Yeah, it's going to be a slow game now. Gukesh, he's not a piece down. He's not actually any material down, but the evaluation bar confirms that white's pieces are so much better than the black rook. And this is actually something that, at the maybe lower levels, isn't such a big factor. Rook and pawn can often fight against 2 pieces, but not here. Not between these guys. This black rook, is it trapped? Oh, it's nearly trapped.
It's very close. I don't think he can live on the second row because it will be trapped. That's why he retreats it.
Yeah, it would have got trapped this way, so he steps back. And, OK, now white can, for example, bring the king towards the centre just to cover some squares, maybe start improving this bishop. Still some work to be done. Chances at all, you see, for a fight back from Gukesh?
I mean, there are always chances. I mean, we've seen people recover from worse positions. I mean, you can see a kind of situation, say, if black were to activate the light squared bishop and maybe set up a pawn chain on the light squares. Maybe it's possible to hold the position and just, I mean, I'm just thinking in defensive terms because I really don't think black has any right to be ambitious here because the rooks are just not well placed.
Yeah, and even if, for example, even if white gives you everything you want, even if you get the doubled rooks on the d-file, they're not coming in, they're not doing anything. White is always controlling these dark squares, the pawns are stuck. Eventually, white can even start thinking about pushing on this side of the board as well. Yeah.
This is a position that David Howe dreams of having with white.
I had a dream about this position last night. Yeah, it's looking very good for Duda. He does actually bring the king.
All right.
The moves we predicted. OK, we were just showing an example, but Duda's going for this variation.
So Gukesh basically needs to get lucky, like he did against Magnus, kind of, because Magnus blundered.
Yeah, but I think he needs more luck here than he did against Magnus. The Magnus position was always crazy. He always had chances, even if he was worse. But this one, you need a big blunder, if anything. Even bigger than the one we saw in the previous game. And, OK, Duda blocking some pawns with white's bishop.
remember, Jan-Christoph Duda, because Prague is not playing this tournament, Prague currently in second place on the tour standings. Duda will be the player in second place, probably, if Anish Giri doesn't win the tournament. And Duda, he has to win almost all of his games to have any hopes of winning the tour. It's getting very close for Magnus Carlsen, even with one tournament left to win the Meltwater Champions Chess Tour 2022. Duda, he just needs to win a lot of games.
Yeah, I mean, it was virtually all the games, right? To have just a chance of catching Magnus's score. And, well, we see the bishop attack the rook. So Black really isn't doing so much here. It's just about moving the pieces, trying to find some purpose to them, and just waiting to see how White improves. And whilst the players are thinking, well, I just want to share with you 2 selfies. The first one is actually an art drawing from Maritza, who says, honestly, I just want to keep qualifying for Olympiads and play in more tournaments so I can keep my chess player portraits. Now, don't cheat, but who do you think that is?
From for East.
Yeah, it's Jordan. Did you cheat?
No, no, I didn't.
Like him.
It does look like a very good picture.
Drawing. Yeah.
And OK, the rook moves. And Ed Hyde says, I was walking to breakfast yesterday and these 2 gentlemen were gracious enough to have a photo taken. Made my day. And there we see Fabi and Alejandro.
Well, speaking of which, that's probably from the US Championship then.
Yep.
What's been happening there? Have you guys been following at all?
Yeah.
I haven't actually the past couple of days. What's been going on there?
So Fabiano, going into today's game, which starts a bit later, Fabiano is in the lead.
OK.
Half a point above Ray Robson.
OK.
But those 2 have a significant lead above the pack.
Ray Robson had a streak, and also Hans Niemann yesterday. He won his game, and he said he's ready to make a comeback.
OK, yeah, because all eyes are on Hans Niemann after all the cheating allegations. He did struggle a little bit for a few games there, but winning yesterday, I can see is now on 4.5 points. That is 2.5 points behind Fabiano in sole lead. And still 4 rounds to go in the US Championship.
Yeah, that one's a marathon. 13 long classical games of chess.
Wow, yeah.
Yep. And meanwhile, this game is going down the predicted paths, I guess. Nothing too drastic happening. White just getting ready, getting organised. Black has literally no plan. Black just has to sit and wait and curl up into a ball later. Are you surprised it says +5 for White, though?
I think bishop h3 might just be strong at some moment. I don't know exactly when, because then the rook has to vacate the c file, and then can you just play something as simple as knight d1, knight e3, move the bishop, win the c6 pawn.
Hit the rook first. OK, he doesn't go this way, but you're right, just move the knight. You can go in any direction, for example, here, then you jump in, maybe jump in.
Yeah, it's just...
I mean, even if Black swaps off everything, right, this is just hopeless, utterly hopeless. The 2 bishops just control the whole board, and eventually White will get ready to maybe bring his king in this way. OK, Black is the one bringing the king in the game. So this is the current game position, and I think your idea, Lawrence, he just prepped that one. So now if the bishop takes the knight, he's not even going to swap off one pair of rooks. He'll take with his bishop. And these 2, again, far stronger than Black's rook. It's simple chess.
Yeah, and simple is often the best. And I guess we're going to see the knight relocate itself to the centre. And I'm just waiting for the day that the white king becomes a snake and starts slithering its way to munch on some pawns. Sorry, I really like that action.
Yeah, slither forward.
It's unfortunate sometimes.
You played a lot of Pac-Man when you were younger, did you?
No.
Did you play a lot of Snake on the Nokia 3210?
I did. That one I did until my snake got too long. I managed to really... That sounded weird.
No, it's fine. David's in the same boat. He often had to quit early.
There's now been a pawn push in the position by Gukesh. I guess he had to come up with something. But now the problem is you can just take this pawn off for White. And OK, he doesn't even do this. I was going to say you push forward, you move your king, you bring your rook. This pawn is isolated. There's one weakness, and that's all that Duda will need. OK, he didn't go for this, slightly surprising. But in the current position, again, just create a passed pawn if you want. You can take this pawn first, perhaps. everything for white. Gukesh just trying to confuse his opponent, but no chance here. And here we go. The pass pawn has been created. That's going to tie down the black bishop. Next, the white king's going to move out the way. The white rook's going to come. And actually, the black king is coming under serious attack, potentially. Yeah, it's just one-sided traffic. Yeah. Just a poor opening from Gukesh, and he's never fought back. Big blunder, of course, but that was a cause. That was caused by his opening choice, I feel.
So Duda is looking strong in this tournament. We haven't followed his games. We will get to that. But he's won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Could be about win 6 games. Well, he just won.
Wow, Gukesh resigns.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow, it's over after 42 moves. It's a win for young Christoph Duda. Gukesh, he couldn't keep it up after winning against Magnus Carlsen. Very understandable.